The Definitive Book of Body Language by Allan and Barbara Pease. Picture yourself walking into a room. Maybe it's a crowded party, your nerve-wracking first day at work, or just your neighborhood coffee shop. You notice people chatting, laughing. Maybe two colleagues having a tense whisper in the corner. On the surface, it looks like just another day, just words floating through the air. But here's the thing, underneath all those spoken words, there's an entirely different conversation happening, a silent one. You know that feeling you sometimes get? That gut instinct telling you someone's not being completely honest, even though what they're saying sounds totally reasonable? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, instantly vibing with a complete stranger in a way you just can't put your finger on? Here's the kicker. There's actually a hidden language being spoken all around you every single day. It's a language that's older than words themselves, more truthful than anything that comes out of our mouths, constantly revealing what people are really thinking, feeling, and intending. It's the language your body speaks. For ages, we've obsessed over choosing the perfect words, convinced that what we say is what really matters. But researchers like Allan and Barbara Pease, the authors behind the game-changing book, The Definitive Book of Body Language, uncovered something pretty mind-blowing. After decades of research, field observation, and diving into evolutionary biology, they discovered that in face-to-face conversations, the actual words coming out of your mouth account for just a tiny sliver of what you're really communicating. We're talking as little as 7%. Your tone of voice carries more weight at around 38%. But here's the real shocker. A whopping 55% of your message comes through body language. That's your gestures, how you're standing, your facial expressions, all those subtle signals you're broadcasting, usually without even knowing it. Let that sink in for a second. More than half of everything you communicate, and everything being communicated to you, never gets spoken, it gets shown. Allan Pease didn't just stumble onto this revelation by accident. As a kid, he picked up on something intriguing. People's words and their actual feelings didn't always match up. At just 11 years old, selling sponges door to door, he learned to read the tiny tells. Someone telling him to buzz off with open palms? Safe to keep trying? Someone with a pointed finger or clenched fist? Time to move along, no matter how polite their words sounded. This ability to read people launched him into wildly successful sales careers, giving him a front-row seat to observe human behavior in action. Together with Barbara Pease, he poured over 30 years of combined knowledge into this book, essentially creating a dictionary for this silent language. The result? Millions upon millions of copies sold worldwide, translated into dozens of languages, making it the go-to guide for cracking the code of human behavior. Why has it resonated with so many people? Because learning to decode these nonverbal signals is honestly like gaining a superpower. You get to peek behind the curtain and understand what's actually happening in any interaction. By the time we wrap up today, you'll have a solid foundation in this hidden world. You'll discover why a simple handshake can set the entire tone for a relationship, how to tell if a smile is genuine or fake, what crossed arms might really be saying, and how even the direction someone's feet are pointing can reveal where their mind truly wants to be. This isn't just about becoming a human lie detector either. It's about understanding yourself better, becoming aware of the signals you're unconsciously broadcasting, and learning how to communicate more powerfully and authentically. So settle in, open your mind, and let's shine some light on the secrets that have been hiding in plain sight all along. Our deep dive into body language starts with a fundamental truth. It's usually not what you say, but how you say it. Or, more accurately, how your body says it while your mouth is doing the talking. Think back to the silent movie era. Legends like Charlie Chaplin couldn't lean on dialogue, so they became masters at conveying complex emotions and entire storylines purely through movement and expression. That ancient skill, reading attitudes and thoughts through behavior, was actually our first communication system, way before spoken language even existed. Even today, despite our obsession with words, our everyday language is packed with phrases that acknowledge how much our bodies reveal. Get it off your chest, keep a stiff upper lip, face up to it, put your best foot forward. These aren't just clever sayings. They reflect a deep, almost instinctive understanding that our bodies express what's really going on inside. So how do we start cracking this code? The authors give us 3 essential rules. Rule number 1. Read gestures in clusters. A single gesture, like scratching your head, could mean practically anything. Confusion, an itch, forgetfulness, nervousness, even lying. Just like a single word needs a full sentence to make sense, a single gesture needs other gestures happening at the same time to reveal its true meaning. Imagine someone's listening to you speak. They've got their hand up to their face, index finger pointing along their cheek, another finger covering their mouth, thumb propping up their chin. Add in tightly crossed legs and an arm folded across their body. Now the full sentence becomes clearer. I really don't like what you're saying, or I'm holding back some serious objections. Look for these clusters, these complete sentences, not just isolated movements. Rule number 2, look for congruence. Do the words match the music? Does someone's body language line up with what's coming out of their mouth? Research shows that nonverbal signals carry about 5 times more weight than verbal ones. When words and body language clash, people, especially women, who tend to be more naturally perceptive, almost always trust the body language and dismiss the words. If that person sitting there with crossed arms and legs tells you they totally agree with everything you just said, chances are pretty good they're not being straight with you. The body rarely lies. Rule number 3, read gestures in context. The setting absolutely matters. Someone sitting with their arms and legs tightly crossed at a freezing bus stop in January is probably just trying to stay warm. But that exact same posture across from you at a negotiating table? That's likely signaling a closed, negative, or defensive attitude toward whatever you're proposing. Always factor in the circumstances. Here's something interesting. It's actually easier to read younger kids because their gestures are so obvious. A 5-year-old telling a fib might literally slap both hands over their mouth. A teenager doing the same might just bring their hand up and kind of rub around their mouth area. An adult starts the same motion but pulls away at the last second, resulting in a quick nose touch instead. Our gestures get more subtle as we grow up, but those underlying impulses, they stick around. Now, can you actually fake body language? The authors say mostly no, at least not convincingly for very long. Sure, you might consciously hold your palms open trying to look honest while telling a lie, but tiny micro-gestures will give you away. A pupil contracting slightly, an eyebrow twitching upward for a split second, the tiniest movement at the corner of your mouth. These betray you, especially to someone who's trained to notice. Things like blushing, sweating, or your pupils dilating, nearly impossible to fake on command. While professional actors and practiced liars can train themselves to match their gestures to their words, most people's subconscious minds end up betraying their verbal lies through contradictory body signals. Let's start decoding some specific signals, beginning with one of the most expressive parts of our body, the hands. Throughout history, showing an open palm has been linked with truth, honesty, and peaceful intentions. Think about swearing an oath in court with your palm raised or placed over your heart. When someone genuinely wants to be open with you, they'll often show their palms, saying something like, "I swear I didn't do it." On the flip side, when someone's hiding something, they tend to hide their palms too, in their pockets, behind their back, or tucked away in crossed arms. A kid lying will often hide their hands behind their back. Salespeople are even taught to watch whether a customer shows their palms when explaining why they can't buy something. Open palms usually accompany honest reasons. Interestingly, practicing speaking with open palms can actually make it harder for you to tell lies and encourages others to be more open with you because of this fascinating cause and effect loop where the gesture influences the emotion. The way we position our palms when giving directions or making requests carries surprising power. The palm-up position is submissive and non-threatening, like someone asking for help. It suggests openness and vulnerability. People are way more likely to go along with a request made with an open palm facing upward. Flip that palm downward, though, and the palm down position immediately signals authority, even dominance. The listener subconsciously feels like they've just been given an order. While this might be fine coming from a boss, it tends to create resistance coming from a peer. Think about the commanding, sometimes intimidating power projected by leaders using this gesture throughout history. Then there's the palm closed, finger pointed gesture. It's basically like using a symbolic club, figuratively beating your listener into submission. It triggers negative feelings, subconsciously reminding people of being attacked or scolded. It's genuinely one of the most annoying gestures someone can use, and studies show listeners actually remember less information when a speaker points aggressively at them. A less aggressive alternative? Touch your thumb and forefinger together, forming an OK shape while you talk. This whole palm position dynamic becomes super important in perhaps the most common greeting ritual we have, the handshake. Shaking hands is ancient, evolving from showing open palms to prove you weren't carrying weapons, to the Roman forearm grasp that checked for hidden daggers and sleeves, to today's interlocking of palms. That very first handshake subconsciously communicates one of three attitudes: dominance, this person's trying to control things; submission, I can control this person; or equality, I feel comfortable with this person. Dominance shows up when someone turns their hand so their palm faces somewhat downward during the shake, literally taking the upper hand. Many successful senior managers do this instinctively. Equality happens when both palms stay vertical, creating a kind of symbolic tug-of-war where neither person gives ground, which actually fosters mutual respect. To build genuine rapport during a handshake, aim for that vertical palm position and, crucially, match the pressure you're receiving. Don't crush their hand, but don't offer a limp, wet fish either. Adjust your grip to meet theirs. Keep in mind, the average male grip can be twice as strong as the average female's, so being sensitive to this matters. What if someone tries to dominate you with an aggressive palm-down thrust? You can counter it. One technique is the step to the right. Step forward with your left foot, which feels weird for most right-handed people. Then step across in front of them with your right foot, moving into their personal space. This lets you straighten out the handshake, or even turn their palm upward. Another simpler method, especially useful for women, is the hand on top. Respond with your palm up initially, then place your left hand over the top of theirs, creating a double-handed shake that neutralizes their attempted dominance. Watch out for the dreaded wet fish handshake, though. When you're nervous, blood can drain from your extremities, making your hands cold and clammy. If this happens to you, discreetly dry your palm beforehand, or try visualizing holding your hands near a warm fire. It can actually raise their temperature. Avoid being overly aggressive with a bone-crusher grip. Steer clear of the awkward fingertip grab that happens when someone doesn't fully engage, which signals either lack of confidence or wanting to keep distance. And watch for the stiff arm thrust, used by aggressive types or people from rural areas with larger personal space needs, physically keeping you at arm's length. From hands, let's move upward to the face, specifically smiles and laughter. That old advice to put on a happy face turns out to be scientifically sound. Smiles are incredibly powerful signals. But here's the thing. Not all smiles are created equal. French scientist Guillaume Duchenne discovered there are two key muscle groups involved in smiling: the zygomatic majors that pull your mouth corners back, and the orbicularis oculi around your eyes. Here's what matters. We consciously control the mouth muscles, meaning we can fake a smile pretty easily. But those eye muscles, the ones that create those little crow's feet wrinkles, they act independently and reveal whether a smile is genuinely felt. So to spot a real smile, look for the crinkles beside the eyes. A fake smile usually only involves the mouth. Professor Paul Ekman developed an entire system to distinguish genuine smiles generated unconsciously. involving eye crinkling and a slight eyebrow dip from fake ones, often quicker, held longer, sometimes lopsided, more pronounced on the left side of the face. Smiling, much like in our primate relatives, often serves as a submission signal. It tells others, "Hey, I'm not a threat." Think about a chimpanzee's fear face or play face. Both are submissive gestures that look remarkably like human smiles. This explains why dominant people often smile less. They don't want to appear subordinate. Interestingly, research shows that people who apologize with a smile actually receive lighter penalties in court. Smiling is also remarkably contagious. Our brains apparently have mirror neurons that automatically trigger us to copy facial expressions we see, even when we try to resist. This is why smiling, even when it's forced at first, is so powerful. It influences other people's attitudes and responses in positive ways. The more you smile, the more positive reactions you tend to get back. And here's a cool trick. Intentionally smiling can actually fool your own brain, activating the happy zone and genuinely lifting your mood. There are different types of smiles, each with its own message. The tight-lipped smile, lips stretched across, teeth hidden, signals keeping a secret or withholding an opinion, often used by women as a rejection signal, though tons of men completely miss it. The twisted smile shows conflicting emotions on each side of the face. When done deliberately, it usually conveys sarcasm. The drop jaw smile, lower jaw deliberately dropped to fake laughter or playfulness, often a practiced, camera-ready smile used by politicians and entertainers. The sideways looking up smile, head tilted down and away, eyes looking up with a slight smile, comes across as playful, coy, or secretive. Highly appealing to men because it triggers protective instincts. Princess Diana famously used this one. And what about laughter? It truly is powerful medicine. Laughing positively affects virtually every organ, speeds up breathing, increases blood oxygen, exercises your muscles, lowers heart rate, dilates arteries, stimulates appetite, and even burns calories. One solid minute of laughter can provide up to 45 minutes of subsequent relaxation. Laughing releases endorphins, your body's natural painkillers and feel-good chemicals, relieving stress and boosting your immune system. This might explain why genuinely happy people seem to get sick less often. Interestingly, research shows only about 15% of our laughter is actually about jokes. Mostly, it's about social bonding and building connections. In romantic situations, women tend to laugh more, and men are attracted to women who laugh at their humor. Making someone laugh is perceived as a dominant, attractive trait. Now let's talk about arm signals. Crossing your arms across your chest is pretty much a universal barrier gesture. We learn it as kids, hiding behind furniture or our parents' legs, and later we substitute crossed arms when we feel threatened, nervous, negative, or defensive. It's an unconscious attempt to block out whatever's making us uncomfortable and protect our vital organs. Here's what's crucial, though. This posture isn't just reflecting an attitude, it actually reinforces it. Studies show that people with crossed arms learn and retain significantly less information. We're talking up to 38% less. They also tend to hold more critical opinions of whoever's speaking. Your credibility takes a hit when your arms are crossed. So even if you insist it's just comfortable, be aware that others perceive it negatively, and it's actually hindering your own receptiveness. A solid strategy to break someone's arm cross? Hand them something, a brochure, a pen, a drink, forcing them to physically unfold their arms. There are variations on this theme. Reinforced arm crossing with clenched fists shows hostility on top of defensiveness. Arm gripping, where hands tightly grip the upper arms, signals negative restraint or insecurity. You'll often see this in waiting rooms or before stressful events like public speaking. It's basically a self-hug for comfort. Thumbs-up arm cross, folded arms with thumbs pointing upward, shows someone's being defensive but also feeling superior or trying to look cool. People often use disguised or partial arm barriers when they feel insecure, but don't want to show a full-on arm cross. Men might fiddle with cufflinks, adjust a watch band, or clasp hands in front of their crotch, the broken zipper position. Women might hold a handbag with both hands, clutch flowers or a phone, or hold a drink with two hands. Royalty and public figures constantly use these subtle barriers. Even the way someone places their coffee cup can form a barrier. Putting it on the opposite side of their body from you often indicates negativity or hesitation about the conversation. Don't underestimate the power of touch either. A light, brief touch on someone's elbow, which is considered a public zone, can create a momentary bond and significantly increase how likely they are to cooperate with you. Studies show people are more likely to return lost money, rate service more favorably, and even tip better when lightly touched on the elbow or hand. Use this subtly when shaking hands. Touch their elbow or hand, repeat their name. It makes them feel valued and helps you remember them too. Let's circle back to hand-to-face gestures, which are heavily linked to evaluation and potentially deception. When we see, speak, or hear something disturbing or untrue, our subconscious mind often tries to literally cover our mouth, eyes, or ears. Just like the three wise monkeys, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. As we get older, these gestures become quicker and more disguised. Here are 8 common signals, often associated with lying or holding back truth. 1. The mouth cover. Hand covers the mouth, trying to suppress words that might be deceitful. Can be disguised as a cough. If someone covers their mouth while you're speaking, they might think you're the one hiding something. 2. The nose touch. Usually a light, quick rub. Lying can trigger the release of chemicals that cause nasal tissues to swell slightly and create a tingling sensation, the Pinocchio effect, prompting the touch. Bill Clinton famously increased his nose touching during particularly difficult testimony. Of course, it could just be an itch, which usually involves a more deliberate scratch. 3. The eye rub, an attempt to block out deceit, doubt, or avoid looking at the person being lied to. Men tend to rub vigorously, women tend to be gentler. 4. The ear grab, trying to hear no evil by touching or covering the ear, can also signal someone's heard enough or wants their turn to speak. 5. The neck scratch, usually with the index finger, about 5 quick scratches below the earlobe, signals doubt or uncertainty, like, I'm not sure I agree with this. 6. The collar pull. Lying can increase blood pressure and cause sweating around the neck, especially if the person feels like they're about to get caught. Also used when feeling angry or frustrated. These aren't foolproof signs of lying on their own, but they definitely indicate some kind of negative thoughts. Doubt, uncertainty, exaggeration, worry, or yes, possibly deceit. Remember, context and clusters are everything. Other hand-to-face gestures relate more to evaluation and thinking processes. Boredom, hand supporting the head. The more support needed, the more bored the person is, potentially leading to full head and hands or even falling asleep. Finger drumming or foot tapping actually signals impatience, not boredom. Evaluation, closed hand resting on the cheek or chin, often with the index finger pointing upward, shows the listener is genuinely assessing what's being said. When the index finger points up the cheek while the thumb supports the chin, it often indicates critical or even negative thoughts forming. Genuine interest shows when the hand rests lightly without actually supporting the head's weight. Decision-making. The chin stroke often follows evaluation gestures. It signals someone's weighing options and about to decide. Watch what comes next. If it's followed by crossed arms or legs, the decision is probably no. If followed by leaning forward or opening up, it's likely yes. Stalling tactics often involve putting objects in the mouth, glasses, arm, pen, finger, indicating uncertainty and needing more time or reassurance. Remember Bob, the chess player? His unconscious ear rubs and nose touches when he was unsure, combined with confident steepling gestures when he felt good about a move, literally gave away his strategy to opponents who knew what to watch for. Now let's look into the eyes, often called the windows to the soul. They're incredibly revealing because your pupils operate completely independently of conscious control. When you're excited, interested, or aroused, your pupils dilate, sometimes up to 4 times their normal size. Feeling angry or negative, they contract into what people call beady eyes. This is exactly why dimly lit restaurants are considered romantic. Everyone's pupils naturally dilate in low light, creating mutual attraction signals. Ancient gem traders would watch buyers' pupils when negotiating prices to gauge true interest. Historically, some sex workers even used belladonna drops to artificially dilate their pupils and appear more desirable. Looking at someone's pupils can genuinely tell you their true feelings about something. Women are generally way better at reading these subtle eye signals than men are. The eyebrow flash, a quick, split-second raising of the eyebrows, is a universal long-distance greeting signal, acknowledging someone's presence and signaling you're not a threat. We don't do it to strangers we're trying to ignore. Lowering your eyebrows conveys dominance, while raising them shows submission. Women often enhance this submissive appearance, which appeals to male protective instincts by widening their eyes or plucking eyebrows into higher arches. Gaze behavior is also critical. In Western cultures, meeting someone's gaze about 60 to 70% of the time builds good rapport. Less than that, and you might come across as shifty or disinterested. Too much gaze, more than 2/3 of the time, can signal either strong romantic interest with dilated pupils or hostility with constricted pupils. When two people meet, the subordinate person usually looks away first. Holding someone's gaze just slightly longer than normal can be a subtle power move. There are distinct types of gazing. Social gaze, looking in a triangle between the eyes and mouth. Non-threatening, used in everyday casual encounters. Intimate gaze, looking across the eyes and down below the chin, toward the chest or lower body, signals romantic or sexual interest. Women, with their naturally wider peripheral vision, can often pull this off more subtly than men. Power gaze, focusing on a triangular area that includes the forehead, imagine a third eye there, creates a serious atmosphere, exerts pressure, and can be genuinely intimidating, definitely not for friendly chats. Looking away gets associated with lying, but here's the thing, sophisticated liars know this, and may actually increase eye contact to appear more convincing. So gaze alone isn't a foolproof lie detector. Extended blinking, closing your eyes longer than a normal blink, can signal boredom, disinterest, or feeling superior. It's an attempt to block someone out. Darting eyes often reveal insecurity, or your brain subconsciously searching for escape routes. Understanding where our body wants to go brings us to the fascinating topic of territories and personal space. Anthropologist Edward Hall coined the term proxemics to study this. Just like animals, humans have invisible protective bubbles around them, personal territories. The size of your bubble depends heavily on your cultural background and how densely populated your childhood environment was. For Western cultures, there are 4 main zones. 1. Intimate zones 6 to 18 inches, reserved strictly for lovers, very close family, and pets. When strangers invade this space, it causes genuine physical stress, heart rate increases, adrenaline flows. 2. Personal zone 18 to 48 inches, for friends and colleagues at social gatherings. 3. Social zone 4 to 12 feet, for strangers, new acquaintances, and service people. 4. Public zone over 12 feet, when addressing large groups. Respecting these invisible boundaries is absolutely crucial. Invading someone's intimate zone too soon makes them deeply uncomfortable. Cultural differences here are massive. People from Southern Europe, Latin America, or the Middle East might have much smaller personal zones, like 10 inches, leading to cross-cultural misunderstandings where they seem pushy or touchy to Northern Europeans or North Americans with larger bubbles, who in turn seem cold or standoffish. People from sparsely populated rural areas generally need way more personal space than city dwellers who've adapted to crowds. We tolerate unavoidable space invasions in crowded places like elevators or subway cars through what's called masking, avoiding all eye contact, showing no emotion, pretending to be absorbed in our phones or imaginary ceiling tiles. Chronic crowding actually increases hostility. Denser populations correlate with higher crime and violence rates. We also claim territory through ownership, our homes, cars, even specific seats. We mark these spots with personal belongings. Invading someone's claimed territory, like sitting in their favorite chair without asking, can cause genuine agitation. Leaning on someone else's belongings is a subtle way of showing dominance or trying to intimidate them. We demonstrate ownership by touching things, leaning on our car, putting an arm around our partner. Height also plays a significant role in signaling status. We use phrases like, "Your Highness," "lowlife," or "looking down on someone." Taller people are consistently perceived as more authoritative and successful. Multiple studies link height to higher salaries and being chosen for leadership roles. On television, perceived authority relates more to presentation power and camera angles than actual physical height. We bow, curtsy, or dip our heads to physically lower ourselves before superiors. Conversely, slouching down comfortably in someone else's space can be a dominance power move. Now let's look down further, literally, to legs and feet. Because they're the farthest from our brain, we have the least conscious awareness of what they're doing, making them incredibly honest indicators of true attitude and intention. Studies show increased unconscious foot movements when people lie. Our legs primarily exist to move us toward things we want and away from danger. So leg and foot direction genuinely reveals where the mind wants to go. Open, uncrossed legs suggest openness or dominance. Crossed legs tend to indicate closed, defensive, or uncertain attitudes. Key standing positions. At attention, formal, neutral, non-committal, often used by women in professional settings. Legs apart, predominantly a male stance, essentially a crotch display, signaling dominance and zero intention of leaving. Foot forward, weight shifted to one hip, with the lead foot pointing where the person's mind actually wants to go, toward an interesting person or toward the nearest exit. Leg cross while standing shows a closed, submissive, or defensive attitude, signals an intention to stay put but denies deeper access. Common among strangers or people feeling insecure. As people relax and build genuine rapport, they typically move sequentially from closed positions, crossed arms and legs, to increasingly open stances. Key seated positions. European leg cross, knee over knee, the common standard cross. Combined with crossed arms, it indicates serious emotional withdrawal. American figure 4, ankle on knee, way more common in Americanized cultures. Predominantly a male competitive or argumentative signal that also happens to frame and highlight the genital area. Considered deeply insulting in Middle Eastern and Asian cultures if the sole of the shoe points at someone. Figure 4 leg clamp, using hands to lock the figure 4 position in place, shows a stubborn, tough-minded, dug-in attitude. Ankle lock, ankles locked together, often tucked under the chair, signals holding back negative emotions, uncertainty, or genuine fear. Super common during job interviews, dental appointments, or negotiations when someone's holding back concessions. Leg twine, one foot literally locked around the other leg, almost exclusively a female gesture, indicating shyness or feeling insecure. Parallel legs, knees and ankles pressed together, often slanted to one side, voted the most attractive female sitting position by men across cultures. Signals femininity and elegance. Remember this: when the body closes up, the mind often follows suit. Trying to persuade someone who's in a fully closed, crossed position is incredibly difficult. Your best bet is to try getting them to open up physically first, which often opens their mind along with it. Finally, let's integrate some other common everyday gestures. Head nod usually means yes, or agreement, except in Bulgaria, where it means the opposite. It's essentially a mini bow showing submission. Nodding actively encourages others to keep talking and can create positive feelings in both people. Slow nods show genuine interest. Rapid nods signal impatience, like, "Hurry up already." Headshake usually means no, believed to originate from babies refusing the breast or spoon. Watch for incongruence here. Someone saying yes while shaking their head almost always means no deep down. Head positions. Head up equals neutral. Head tilted signals submission, interest, or listening. Head down indicates a negative, judgmental, or potentially aggressive attitude. Picking imaginary lint, a displacement gesture signaling definite disapproval or a withheld opinion when someone doesn't want to verbalize their disagreement. Hands on hips, makes your body appear larger, signals readiness, assertiveness, sometimes aggression or outright defiance. Straddling a chair using the chair back as a literal shield, dominant, aggressive, controlling posture that says, "I'm in charge here." The catapult, hands behind head, elbows out. Classic seated dominance or superiority signal, projects confidence, sometimes a know-it-all attitude. Often used by managers, experts, or people feeling very comfortable and in control. Can be genuinely intimidating to others. Seated readiness, leaning forward with hands on knees or gripping chair arms. Signals an immediate desire to take action, stand up, or wrap things up. One of the absolute most fascinating aspects of body language is mirroring. We subconsciously copy the body language of people we genuinely like or agree with. It's a bonding mechanism, a way of creating instant rapport, essentially saying, "I'm like you, I understand you." This happens on incredibly subtle micro levels too. Synchronized blinking, matched breathing patterns, even contagious yawning. Couples who are genuinely in sync often mirror each other's movements without any awareness. When someone's body language is noticeably out of sync with the rest of a group, it's a strong signal they're disagreeing internally. Women are dramatically better at both unconsciously mirroring others and consciously detecting when mirroring is or isn't happening. You can intentionally mirror someone's positive posture and gestures to build rapport incredibly quickly, making them feel instinctively understood and comfortable. Just be subtle about it, and never mirror negative or closed-off gestures. Also, pay attention to who mirrors whom in any group setting. Subordinates typically mirror the leader, which reveals the actual power dynamics at play. Even our accessories send signals. Smoking rituals, how people handle their glasses, makeup choices, and even briefcase size all contribute to the nonverbal conversation, often revealing underlying tension, stalling tactics, or how much status someone thinks they have. Putting this all together genuinely requires practice. Start observing people everywhere you go: airports, meetings, restaurants, parties. Try watching television with the sound completely off. Start becoming aware of your own habitual signals and what they might be broadcasting. Always remember the 3 golden rules. Read gestures in clusters. Look for congruence between someone's words and their body. And always consider the context. Understanding this silent language opens up an entirely new dimension of human interaction that most people completely miss. Isn't this absolutely fascinating? The realization that there's this constant, completely silent dialogue happening underneath the surface of every single conversation, every interaction we have. Learning about body language the way Allan and Barbara Pease break it down feels a bit like being handed a secret decoder ring for understanding human behavior. Suddenly you start noticing the subtle tilt of someone's head, which direction their feet are pointing, those fleeting micro-expressions that flash across faces for just a split second, and you realize just how much valuable information we've all been missing our entire lives. What strikes me most powerfully about this work is its emphasis on the fundamental honesty of the body. While we can carefully craft our words, choosing them strategically to persuade, hide the truth, or make a certain impression, our bodies frequently betray what we're really feeling. The subconscious mind, as the Peases explain so well, acts almost independently, broadcasting signals through gestures and posture that often directly contradict our spoken words. It's honestly a humbling reminder that deep down, authenticity is what truly resonates with others. Perhaps the most empowering lesson from all this is realizing it's not just a one-way street of observation. By consciously choosing to adopt more open, genuinely positive body language, uncrossing our arms and legs, showing our palms more often, maintaining comfortable eye contact, smiling authentically, we don't just appear more confident and approachable to others. We can actually begin to genuinely feel it internally. That's the real power of that cause and effect feedback loop they describe. Change your physical posture, and you literally change your mental and emotional state, which ultimately transforms how others respond to and perceive you. So how can you start applying this right away in your own daily life? It honestly doesn't require becoming an expert analyst overnight, just developing heightened awareness. Start observing. Next time you're in any public place, a coffee shop, waiting in line somewhere, even just watching people interact on screen, consciously pay attention to their nonverbal signals. Don't judge what you see, just observe carefully. Notice the clusters of gestures, the congruence or jarring lack of it between words and body. Practice openness. Start becoming genuinely aware of your own habitual postures and positions. Do you automatically cross your arms or legs when talking to people? Try consciously choosing more open positions instead, especially when meeting new people or trying to really listen. Notice how it feels different, and pay attention to whether others seem to respond differently to you. Mind your mirror. When you're talking with someone you genuinely want to connect with, try subtly mirroring their positive posture or gestures. Don't robotically mimic every single movement instantly, but try gently matching their general stance, energy level, or rhythm. It builds rapport in an almost magical way that feels completely natural. Understanding body language ultimately isn't about manipulating people or turning yourself into some kind of walking human lie detector overnight. It's really about deepening your understanding of authentic human connection. It's about developing empathy, genuinely recognizing those subtle signs of discomfort, interest, joy, confusion, or worry in others. It's about cultivating self-awareness, truly understanding the messages you're unconsciously broadcasting into the world every single day. It's about becoming a more perceptive, more genuinely effective, and ultimately a more deeply connected human being. This silent language is always speaking, constantly communicating all around you. The real question is, are you finally ready to truly listen? That was our journey through The Definitive Book of Body Language by Allan and Barbara Pease. We've explored some genuinely incredible insights today, from understanding the hidden power dynamics in a simple handshake to uncovering the secrets revealed in a smile. But honestly, a summary like this barely scratches the surface. The real richness, all the nuances, the countless real-world examples that bring these concepts vividly alive, those are all waiting for you within the actual pages of the book itself. If you found yourself intrigued today, if you felt even a small spark of curiosity about understanding people on this deeper level, I genuinely encourage you to grab yourself a copy. Reading it isn't just about absorbing facts and information. It's honestly like gaining an entirely new sense, opening your eyes to a complete layer of communication you might never have consciously noticed before. You'll find the link to the book right in the description below. And hey, if this journey through the hidden world of body language sparks something in you, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We explore transformative, genuinely life-changing books like this one regularly, constantly working to unlock the wisdom held within what we call the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's continue this adventure of learning and growing together. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we're exploring next.